Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Daily AI Show live. Today is December 16th, 2025. Happy that y'all are here. Right now it's myself and Andy. I'm Brian. And I think we have Ann and maybe Karl popping in the door here in a little bit as well. So we'll get them in as soon as they are ready. But Andy, I know you and I were kind of holding down the fort yesterday and we had a bunch of different topics. I can see Karl coming in the door now. Here, I'm going to bring Karl up on the stage. Hey, Karl, welcome as well. I know, Andy, we had a bunch of topics yesterday, and we got into the build that I was doing for Lovable and continue to work on that on the back end. So, but today, as far as news, I know there's a couple different things going on. As far as NVIDIA and some others, and I always feel like you kind of do a good job. Was that on your list, Andy, as far as topics for today, the NVIDIA Nemotron?
Yeah, let me tell you what I know about it.
Because I was like, I bet you Andy has this much better than I could do. Welcome, by the way, to Ann as well. So now we have Andy and Karl, and I'm Brian. Okay, go, Andy.
Okay, so NVIDIA. Now remember, NVIDIA is generally known as a chip designer and developer, and they are the big whale out there. But they also do a wide range of other things, including software. And they have a line of AI models called Nemotron. And they have, we've talked about Nemotron models before. But what they've done now is they've released a new version of that family, and they've made it open source. So this is interesting and important to understand, because NVIDIA on the chip side is being challenged for its monopolistic placement in the world of hardware in AI by Google, principally with their TPUs. And then importantly, OpenAI and others are challenging them by either partnering, Anthropic, for example, partnering with Google to use TPUs in addition to NVIDIA. But others like OpenAI are developing their own chips. So, here's NVIDIA coming back and saying, okay, we're going to open source our line of models. So the lineup spans 3 different size models, Nano at 30 billion. And that smallest model, it goes up to 500 billion for their Ultra. So that smallest model, the Nano model, has beaten similar open source models like Qwen 3 at the same size, 30 billion, on coding, instruction following, etc. So these are really very, very capable models. And now I'm going to take a little sidebar here to talk about Meta and Meta's open source models, the Llama models, which have fallen down the charts. Right. So the Chinese open source models are definitely dominating when it comes to open source. And they are the ones, the names DeepSeek and Alibaba and Tencent and all of those others have open source models that are being used by enterprises when they want to build a bespoke kind of AI stack. So NVIDIA is saying, okay, Meta's going closed. I'm being challenged from all these other directions. Well, I'm going to stake a claim in the open source space. And that's important because open source is widely used, but the Chinese are dominating it. So now NVIDIA is saying, let me do it this way. Now, one of the things that I want to anticipate is that in the next 5 years, AI stack development can be truly optimized when you design your AI software to work on specific hardware, right? So here you have a big player with deep pockets, NVIDIA, being able to take their own chips of the future and design their models around those chips for speed. So for example, that Nano model, it beats Qwen 330 billion, the same thing, with 3 times faster inference in generating responses. So how did NVIDIA do that? Well, they're working with both their chips and their software at the same time, whereas, Alibaba, the others, they don't actually have a line of chips of their own where they can kind of optimize internally for the combination of the AI software and the hardware. Okay, so that's kind of where open source is playing now. There's a big splash in the open source world. Think of Hugging Face. Hugging Face, one of the key players, Margaret Mitchell, one of the leading researchers who is now at Hugging Face, wrote an article also that's a side piece that I'd like to talk about, not on this show, but because I just glanced through it today, but a very important article about how focusing on generative AI is missing the window of opportunity to really exploit more predictive types of AI. Yes, generative AI is a predictive token model, but it's focused on generating sort of inventing conversation as opposed to predicting outcomes. And she thinks that predicting outcomes is going to happen. So even research is happening over there on the open source side. Anyway, I've said enough about that. NVIDIA, big player. Nematron models, they're gonna have a big play in open source.
Well, I have a weave that I can do off of that, because part of that NVIDIA newsroom article was talking about some of the big players. Usually this happens, right? They'll have some big announcement and they'll be like, here are the 5 mega companies that are already using it and having success. That's pretty standard operating, right? And I was surprised, or not surprised, but you don't see it as much. But Perplexity was on there, along with Palantir, Oracle, Deloitte. I think Deloitte's on every list. I feel like I always see Deloitte. But there was a quote here. It says, Perplexity is built on the idea that human curiosity will be amplified by accurate AI built into exceptional tools like AI assistants. Said their CEO. With our agent router, we can direct workloads to the best fine-tuned open models like Nematron 3 Ultra, or leverage leading proprietary models when tasks benefit from their unique capabilities, ensuring our AI assistants operate with exceptional speed, efficiency, and scale. So, that's a canned quote that's there as far as the press release here, which is fine. But my sort of weave off of that is, not only is Perplexity talking about using these Nematron models, but there was a report that is now out on Archive. That's arxiv.org. And there's always great reports. Ethan Mollick does a phenomenal job of bringing them to my attention on LinkedIn. I think I lean on him a lot to tell me the different archive papers that are out there. But there's one that's about AI agent use. And it's talking about early evidence. And where are they finding that? Well, they looked at these authors at Harvard, and Perplexity, who was part of this, looked at Comet, the browser that Perplexity has. And they looked, I think it's across 100,000 randomized use cases. Like, we've seen reports like this before to talk about, where are people actually using these tools? How are people using AI? And Karl, you actually had just shared something on Slack that maybe we can get into in a second, the TikTok video or the X video that you had, that's sort of about this sort of same topic, which is, where are people using AI? And, one way to look at that is like, well, what buttons do they press? What are they typing into Perplexity, or specifically into the Comet browser? So this is this is from the abstract, because it is a very long paper, and no, I have not read all of it. I didn't even have time to barely get into it. But from the abstract, the 2 largest topics, productivity and workflow, and learning and research, accounted for 57% of all agentic queries, while the 2 largest subtopics, courses and shopping for goods, make up 22%. I find that second one to be interesting, the shopping for goods part of it. I know Perplexity has been pushing in that area, but I don't know. I guess I don't really think about people using it as much for shopping, although there's been big pushes in that. But it says that makes up 22%. The top 10 out of 90 tasks represented 55% of queries. Personal use constitutes 55% of queries, while professional and educational contexts comprise 30 and 16, respectively. In short term, use case exhibits strong stickiness, but over time, users tend to shift towards more cognitively oriented topics. The diffusion of increasingly capable AI agents carries important implications for researchers, businesses, and policymakers and educators, inviting new lines of inquiry into this rapidly emerging AI capabilities. So there's obviously a lot more in here about how they broke down the data. It's a full research paper. That's probably, I'm not even sure how many pages it is. It is 60 pages long, lots of graphs, lots of charts, lots of fun things to really dive into. But I wanted to at least bring up that first part of it, because I think we need more and more research papers like this that are not guessing, but actually looking at raw data and saying, this is how people are actually using these types of products. And we can have a debate about whether it's AI agents or it's not an agent inside a comment. I would kind of say, no, that's not an agent. It doesn't matter. It's how they're defining it. But just consider it to be perplexity use cases, AI perplexity use cases within their purpose-built browser comment. So
Yeah,
really
and importantly, that's an agentic function browser. So it'll go off and execute things in the background for you while you're working on other things. And I wanted to just stop here for a minute and say we're having that same problem that happened on our first StreamYard show, which is the vertical display of this Foursquare. It's showing our chins. Here's mine. But Anne can peek up over there. Anne and Karl are on the bottom, so they can kind of just rise up a little bit, and they can be showing their eyeballs at least. Yeah. So
let's see. Are they saying it's wrong again? Okay, yeah, so
in chat they're saying that's what they see.
All right, so that's on me because I did this very, very quickly this morning, and this is just to show you why Beth. We all love Beth so much. Beth, unfortunately, wasn't able to be on the show, and it was on me to get this scheduled out, and I forgot to. So I was doing it live and clicking through the buttons in the last 10 minutes while Andy and we were trying to get live. There is a place to say, do not do the vertical because we have not. There's a new feature inside of StreamYard that's called Mars that allows you apparently to go live in vertical and horizontal, which sounds great, except that there is no way that StreamYard has been able to tell us how to manipulate our individual boxes, frames, whatever you want to call it. So you're not looking at people's chins. So if I remember right from the last time, Beth said there is a way to toggle out of that and see our normal view. That's on me. Sorry about that, guys. I was clicking through really quickly and didn't do my due diligence before we went live. So sorry about that.
There was something you could actually do on YouTube that would select a certain feed that didn't have this vertical,
I want to say there's a icon that looks like a small phone or something like that. But Beth was the one that had the answer last time, and I honestly can't remember what it is. Yeah, it's easy. Whatever it is, it's easy, and it's on YouTube. It's nothing we can unfortunately change on our side.
I'm gonna slump down into my chair.
I know. Anyway, moving on. All right, so we talked about perplexity. We talked about
okay. Yeah.
What other news do you have?
There we go.
What do you have, Ann? What kind of news do you want to bring today?
Well, have you already thoroughly discussed the Time Person of the Year cover?
No.
No, we haven't.
Nope. Okay, so the Time Person of the Year, how Time does the Person of the Year every year, came out a couple of days ago, and instead of featuring a person, and as a reminder, Person of the Year is not necessarily the best person of the year or anything like that. It's just like the person who had a big impact. And it was actually a bunch of the tech moguls on a steel beam, kind of reenacting the 1930s lunch on a steel beam, kind of iconic photo. And one of the things, there's a lot of commentary about it, which I think makes a lot of sense to me, which is that the choice was made, and I do want to say choice because the choice had to have been made probably a couple hundred times over and over again to have Fei Li half on the page, half off the page. And if the article is about the impact of the technology, and like maybe the more like super applied in the moment impact, you could make an argument that the godmother of AI maybe I can't even come up with an argument. Why was Fei Li half on, half off the page is the question. And because if you look at it editorially, just there's aesthetically, I mean, but couldn't you just move it over like a tiny bit? There's plenty of space. Like, I don't know, you go through the list. And one of the things that's coming up as a result is a conversation that's kind of been boiling under the surface, which is responsible AI the new women's work? And if you think about it, I know we're going to talk about job skills, so I don't want to steal any thunder on that. But there is a good argument to be made that responsible AI and like women's kind of go-to historical stereotypical leadership style, it makes sense. It's a good fit. However, it's another example of women being outside of the conversation about how the actual technology is built and deployed. So I just thought I would raise that. It's a very hot topic in the circles that I run around in. Of course, there's lots of, oh, it was by accident, or, oh, nobody meant anything by it. There's plenty of that. I have a hard time thinking that it is a fluke.
I don't think it's, well,
that's my
it's certainly curious because I pulled it up on screen here because I hadn't seen it myself. And I mean, just from the sense of there is dead space, I guess that's Zuckerberg, right? On the far left there. I can't tell. Is that supposed to be Zuckerberg on the left? Anyway,
yes.
There's dead space beside him, which would have certainly made it so Fei Li had more of her body. Now she's not cut off, but I see your point. Her left arm is like completely missing. And you have to think to yourself, like, well, I mean, look, it is curious. I mean, I'll say that because like, I don't quite understand what would be the necessity of doing that. This is not somebody's blog. This is Time. So there are no mistakes as far as I'm concerned with it. And not to get into any conspiracy one way or the other, but that is weird. That is weird that I hadn't seen that before. And like, why would you cut off any person on there?
Fair. And Time hasn't commented on it, but maybe they'll come back with here's how the aesthetic decision was made, or we decided that it was going to be less about A and more about B. So we put these guys in the center where your eye goes first. I don't know. They might have something like that will kind of like, make us all feel like it was just some kind of ham-handed decision rather than something, more intentional. It's just weird. You know what? I'm just going to say this. It's a bummer. That's my word for it. It's a bummer.
I agree.
I would like to see more representation like that.
Yeah, and it says even at the bottom here, it says painting by Jason Sealer for Time. And so now I'm curious, not to like get way deep into this, but what does the original painting look like?
Paint her. Ooh, original painting. What's his name? Peter Sealer?
I'm looking it up now. It's Jason Seller. I don't know how to say his last name. Let me just see if I can. All right. Well, he has a website, so let's see. Okay. Well, let's go. Let's bring this up because it's interesting. This is Jason Seller. However you say his last name. He has obviously done many different types of. He's worked for Time. Obviously, I do not see his. Nope, that's to commission him. That's clearly not it. Portfolio, sketches, portrait. I'm not really sure.
He looks like he's like 32 years old.
I'm just quickly flipping through. I don't see this one on there, so I would add, but that is a curious, like the question there, I guess, Anne, is did Time offset the painting and not make it fit, or does his painting cut somebody off?
Not include her.
Yeah, so like where does it fall, right? Where does this curiosity fall or whatever? Which I think is fair because if it's not a Time thing, although if that's a commission piece, you also have to wonder, but regardless.
I would imagine that there's some, let's say he only included 2/3 of her body and they sent it and he submitted it. Wouldn't somebody along the way be like, do we get a slight discount because you only included 2/3 of one of the people, or like send it back? I mean, there's got to be. I mean, also, by the way, they could just make it with AI. Well, I know that's probably very frowned upon. Well, of course it's frowned upon, but
speaking of which, why don't
artists with AI?
Let's make an alternative one, which is all the incredible women. like Fujisimo, president of product at OpenAI, Mira
Let's do it,
Murati,
Andy.
the list goes on and on. There are really powerful influencers
Ooh.
in situ in AI, and all they brought up among all those other tech pros was one person's half presence on the thing. Let's make our own.
Let's make a new one. Maybe the people in the chat could nominate some women to be on our new cover that we're making.
Yeah, and by the way, Time used to be a Time Person of the Year gets press every year, of course, but Time used to be a very credible magazine, and I had a subscription to it for most of my life. But now, if you go to Time online, you're in a spam world.
Oh,
It's
really?
terrible. Yeah, I mean, I can't believe how much it's been degraded. It's not really any longer a kind of legitimate source of news. If you have it in your Google News feed, for example, if you've allowed that to come in there, if you click on anything there, you're gonna be disappointed by the ad heavy and frankly not so wonderful journalistic content that's present on Time.
It can't possibly work like CNN's, and there's not a political take on CNN. I just mean their literal website. But their website is awful.
Is it really?
It's awful. Yeah. Anytime I get a link to it or whatever, it's not okay. So we can move on into other things. I'm literally looking up on my phone. I'm like, I'm doing the journalistic side of this because I can see on Sealer Paints on Instagram that oh man, okay. So it is in fact a painting, and I don't know, and that's really, really tiny. But if I hold that up to the screen,
there is her elbow is cut off. In the painting, her elbow is cut off, but there's more shoulder.
More of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's like we're getting into this, but yes, there's more of her in the painting than there is on the cover, which is it's whatever. Okay. Let's move on to other news topics here. But that's definitely interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's see. What did I have on here? Well, let me throw it to you, Karl, because you haven't really jumped in yet. Do you have any news stories for today?
Yeah, a couple. So have you already talked about, I've been out for a while, Google's new Disco?
No, but I signed up for the beta.
I signed up for Disco as well.
So
what I actually wanted to do was I wanted to share this. Share my entire screen, that one. Okay, and then do I bring this on or someone else brings this on?
Oh, I can bring it up. Here you go.
Okay, there it is. Okay.
Well, we got an infinite screen here. Hold on a second.
No. That's me. So essentially what it is if you go to Google Labs, you have this, right? Disco is a place for, and so what it is, let's click on this. It allows you to essentially turn your tabs into custom interactive apps. So before I get to this, I don't know if you've used in Gemini. I think I've talked about this before. Does any of you have the visual layout in your tools? So you have tools. Do any of you have this? It's in under Labs. So if you sign up for it, some people have it, some people don't. So for example, if you do a search for anything, instead of the normal AI generated answers and links, you get an actual like visual layout. And this said oil and gas in Alberta, right? So you have this, it's laid out this way. I thought that was really neat how they laid it out. So I think this is an extension of that, where essentially I was just watching the video, well, I guess we can watch the video together.
There's no sound.
It's just music. Like,
okay, so maybe narrate what's going on the screen.
No one's narrating. It's just this is it.
No, I mean you should.
Oh, actually,
otherwise it's just silent, and people are listening.
Oh, just watch the video first, and then we'll have a discussion.
Okay. While that's playing, I wanted to say I checked on my Gemini, which I don't have the Pro version, but I have a tool called Dynamic View. And I'm not sure if that's a renaming of the thing that you mentioned. It's from Labs, but I have Dynamic View. What was the one that you selected?
Visual. I have Visual Labs.
Okay.
So overall, what it does is, if you saw the video, you can open once it opens multiple tabs, you can create an interactive app based on the tabs that are open. So that's what Disco is. And the reason why I brought up visual layout is because I think, remember 2 years ago, I was mentioning, what would be awesome is if you went to a website and it dynamically built the pages based on your either previous or non-interaction with that site. So it's hyper-personalized. I'm thinking this is kind of the step you don't need to go to. Well, you still could, but like when you're searching or when you're looking for things, essentially new pages are built for you. And this is just to me, an extension of that. As you go, applications are being built as you start doing things or looking for things. So in this case, the entire set of things that this person was looking for is a vacation, right? First of all, I don't know why. It's like vacations and trips and booking travel is like the number one use of like the example that all AI labs use to demonstrate their features. I was like, you gotta use something different. But anyway, so it's interesting though that like it's building an application, as you can see.
Yeah.
It's built essentially the application for you.
I'm having trouble hearing Karl for some reason. I'm not sure it's fading out.
He cut out just a little bit.
So no, when all these tabs, essentially, it's building an application to do what it thinks that you need for this vacation, right? So you've opened all these tabs and it's built applications for you. So it's sort of like an extension of it's hyper personalized to what you're looking to do. So I thought that was really neat because you have Disco and then you have the combination of visual layout. What does that mean, in my opinion? Like when you're presenting your business and your information, what does that new feature look like when people are looking for things, applications and things are being built, like visual layout, and then you have agents and large language models going to places to extract that information. And so I'm going to complicate this with one little thing that I don't know if anyone picked up on, was Cursor changed their CMS from a headless CMS from UI to pure code. Like it was a test for them. It was interesting because if you look at it, and Nate Jones was talking about this, we're like the incompatibility between what we're generating in terms of our websites is a UI, but large language models and AI agents it's actually difficult for them to interact with said UI because that's really designed for people. But if you design a site or something primarily for agents, it's going to look raw and completely different. So this is just, maybe those are two different topics, but I kind of see them as one thing where you have on one side, things are being built for you from what you're looking for. And on the other side, your agents and your large language models are going to quote unquote websites, but they don't need that UI anymore. So I thought I'd just put those things together.
Yeah. Go ahead, Anne, please.
I just had a clarification question. Would it be similar to if you took all those websites, let's say there's 4 of them for your trip, because it's always a trip. Would it be the same as if you took those URLs and put them into Notebook LM and exclusively chatted with those sources? I'm just wondering why we need an app. Like, what's the
I have a quick answer to that.
Please.
If you did it in Notebook LM, those would be static. It's not dynamic. The agent behind that Disco functionality can't make a navigation of one of the tabs, in real time in order to bring back more information as you're chatting with that UI.
Yeah.
So I think what I took away, and none of us have seen it yet because you have to sign up and you have to fill out a very long form,
really?
explaining what you do, what projects you've built before, how you would use it. It was I had to go through an interview in order to sign up for that, basically. But eventually, what I think this is going to solve is what Jennifer Huffnagel said on the chat. It's like, I have 50 tabs open. How is this going to help me? Well, I think it will help you, but it will require that you select those tabs that are on a common sort of pursuit that you have, or a little campaign that you have underway. And I have that. I have 4 different windows. Each of them has at least 25 tabs open on them. So I'm overwhelmed by tabs. But now I see that with Disco, I will probably have a window with the 7 tabs that are related to a project that I'm working on. And Disco will create an application interface for me that I can talk to, that'll help me agentically navigate the objective of that. And I'm looking forward to that. So I'm excited about Disco for that reason, but I believe it's going to be something to make sense of, sort of, hey, now wait a second. I had a ChatGPT tab open that was on this subject. Where the heck is it? I've got to go through all these windows and scroll, look across. And then when you get too many tabs, it's so small, you can't see what each tab is. You've got to hover over it. It's difficult.
I was going to say that, like, for me, this would be one step removed from helpful, because my Tab Hoarders Anonymous, like, VIP deluxe membership is that I've got 87,000 tabs. I can't see what any of them say. So if it relies on me manually doing something, I'm going to end up with like flying tacos and like gender discrimination and my trip to Bora Bora in the same thing. They're going to need to get one step closer to reading my mind.
Well, I think that's it, right? Because not everybody's tabs are going to be on the same topic. I know, like, the tabs I'm looking at, there's like 6 or 7 different topics.
That's what I mean.
So I'm curious to see what app it would build if I was like, oh, financial caseware, audit caseware, Helldivers 2, Helldivers 2, the article on Brock Purdy, and then Disco, and then like Borderlands 2. Like,
I think it's going to be, you have to select the tabs that are integrated into the application. So, and I think the easiest way to do that is going to be to put them all on the same window, and then say, every tab on this window gets into Disco.
Yeah. I mean, with the amount of client work I do on one computer, I mean, there's just no chance. Memory is a lost cause for me. Like, you're talking about, it has to be slightly smarter, and it has to be insanely smarter for it to figure out what is going on my computer. In fact, my wife had to use this computer. This is like sort of the office of the house. And she had some work to do because she sits on a couple different nutrition boards as part of her job. And so she had to do the minutes for one of them. She's like, I got to get it done. And then she literally was sitting down at this computer as I'm minimizing things. And I was like, I just apologize for the current state of the computer right now. And the fact that you even have to deal with this. This is embarrassing, And she's like just laughing at me. I was like, it's probably going to crash. The computer is yelling at me that it needs to reload. And I'm like, it's only Tuesday. We don't reload on Tuesdays. It's going to mess up all my tabs and everything I have going on. And yeah, so I'm a victim of it, but I also make my own mess on this. Hey, I do want to try this really quick. So by the way, I tried to go and see if there's anything I could do. Again, super apology in terms of how it looks vertical on YouTube. It's my own doing. And so there is options there. I've talked about it. Unfortunately, it's a new StreamYards thing that should have been something we're all excited about. And unfortunately, I cannot literally grab things around. However, let me try this. Nope, that's super zoomed in. That did not help. I thought for a second that maybe I thought for a second that maybe if I use this other layout that it would just show the person who is actively talking, and I didn't want it to do it to somebody else. No, it just zoomed in on Andy taking a drink. So there you go. Can't even fix that. It's Tuesday, everybody. So anyway, I want to sort of pivot here, if you guys are okay with it, just, based on time and stuff, and talk about something that I found very interesting from yesterday. So Andy and I were hosting yesterday. It was just the two of us. And I had mentioned about a new directive that is the wrong word for it, that President Trump had signed. And essentially what it was doing was, Andy and I discussed it yesterday, so this isn't part of the conversation per se, but it was basically making it so there was a clearer path for AI innovation. The critics of that, not even from the political spectrum, were simply saying like, look, that's a whole lot less oversight. And the idea was, hey, look, states are going to come up with their own laws, and that's going to really slow down our AI innovation. And so here we go. Here's a federal thing. Okay. So the only reason I bring that up as a precursor for this other topic is because yesterday, something called U.S. Tech Force was announced from the U.S. administration. And I wanted to do some deep research into this because I'm going to pull it up on screen here for their home website that they have, which I'll give them credit. Whoever put the website together did a good job in terms of helping you understand what is it, what's it for, what is it, what are we doing here? And then I want to talk a little bit about some historical precursors to this that were similar, because I wanted to know, like, well, have things like this worked historically? Again, not about this particular administration, because it goes back across many administrations, right? So it's not about one side of the aisle or the other. Just when you do something like this, which is a recruitment platform for trying to get AI experts, if you will, working on this sort of initial 2-year engagement with many different companies, do these things kind of work? So let's just talk really quick about what this is, because it's specifically AI. The U.S. Tech Force is recruiting an elite corps of engineers to build the next generation of governmental technology. Backed by the White House, Tech Force will tackle the most complex and large-scale civic and defense challenges of our era, from administering critical financial infrastructure at the Treasury Department to advancing cutting-edge programs at the Department of Defense and everything in between. This is through a 2-year program. The teams will report directly to agency. They will have an opportunity for permanent employment beyond that. So it talks about that. If you're highly skilled in areas of software engineering, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, data analytics, and technical project management, and want to build the future of American government technology, join the Tech Force today. So then you get this answer the call here. And now if you do that, the apply, it'll take you to USA Jobs, which is the standard website for all USA government jobs. If you want to get into that type of work, and you would have to sign in. So I couldn't just literally look at quickly, I couldn't look at the jobs that are posted on there today, which I thought would have been interesting. But they did do a good job with their FAQs down here. So again, they talk about this is roughly 1,000 people as part of this initial push. And things that I think are important here that maybe somebody listening to this show will go on with this and apply. But basically it's saying you don't have to have any, this is what are skills required. We're looking for expertise in software engineering, artificial intelligence, strong problem solving abilities, and a passion for public service are essential. Are there any specific educational credentials required? A traditional degree is not required. Where have we heard this before? And this dips into what you had shared, Karl. Candidates should demonstrate strong technical skills through their work experience, projects, or certifications, aka portfolios. We've talked about this. If you're a young kid, and if you're your kid's age, if you're my kid's age, or Karl's age, what do these kids, what do you need to have? You need to have portfolios. You need to be able to demonstrate that you have the skill set. And here again, we have this new U.S. Tech Force from the government saying, we don't care so much about the paper as we do what it is that you can prove that you can do. That's going to be a bigger deal. Minimal experience, no fixed amount of work experience is required. Applicants must meet the minimum qualifications listed in each job announcement. What matters most is your ability to address critical government technology challenges. Is it a political appointment? Nope, it's not. What am I expected to start? Soon. I'm just giving you the high levels here. Most of the positions are in DC, although it does say some will be remote. what agencies will work with the tech force. And it goes on to say a whole bunch from veteran affairs to energy and commerce and everywhere in between. And on and on and on it goes as far as the program goes. So what I wanted to do really quickly before opening it up to you guys is what I was curious about. Like I said, that's what was announced yesterday, and you can go to the website or go and research jobs and all that. But I was curious, like, well, what are the federally pushed programs of the past? That's a poor way of saying that are similar enough to this, and how did they go? So there's been a few that came out. There was, let me get it up here, the United States Digital Service, the USDS, that was created in 2014 after the healthcare.gov fiasco to bring top technologists in the 2 to 4 year tours of duty. So there was that. There was 18F within the GSA, stood up a civic tech consultancy inside government to help agencies build better software with modern practices. Doesn't say the year on that one. In 2012, we had the PIF, which is the Presidential Innovation Fellows, and it came in to do similar things. And if you go back into the 50s, you have other parts of government employed, training initiatives and things like that came out. Something that's the acronym CHIPS. I'm not exactly sure what that stands for, but then getting into like what's worked in the past. And really what it says here is a lot of times these programs often get to be a victim of a couple of things. Not to say that US Tech Force will go this route, but that it often is too small to make a meaningful impact. And oftentimes what happens is the people who jump into these positions, because they're 2-year appointments, are considered sort of outsiders or others. And there's a bit of a history of tolerance of, well, we just have to ride this out and then we can go back to doing the way we've done things before. And as somebody who has worked for the government, I've worked both as, local and as state as far as a firefighter, but I also worked directly for the government as a contractor in Iraq. I will tell you that this is rampant. I also have plenty of family who are pre or post-military who have gone to work in government, worked directly in the Pentagon for years and years. And this is the story that comes through a lot, which is there's more of us than there is of you. Here's a big initial push. Great to see you. Tap you on the head. We'll go back to doing the things we've always done them. The good old boy way. We'll be back strong as ever as soon as you're out the door. So there's some history here. But I do like this idea of putting together sort of a pipeline of hopefully some of the best out there to work on these federal programs. So that's what I learned about it. Would be thrilled to hear your guys' take on it as far as this program, this U.S. Tech Force goes.
One thing I want to mention on this is I'm now, having worked in the government as well, now this is, I'm assuming this is I'm making the assumption that the U.S. government's very similar from a organizational hierarchy and the way they work to the American system, where, especially on the federal level, I feel like if you're the best or one of the best in terms of AI talent, would it really be in your benefit to work, unless you're very civically minded, to work in a large bureaucracy where you have to abide by certain structures and rules, versus in the private sector where you don't have to, or you can essentially make what you will, do what you will, and push those boundaries? Because I always find that, like, whenever working for, not as a contractor, but working for the government, there's a lot more rigid structures and processes you have to follow, which means what you want to do, how you want to progress, how when you push tech, you get kind of limited because you have to essentially work within those rules.
Sure.
Right. And then I know a lot of people who there was a term for it. I can't remember. In companies, you need both. You have people who are glue. Like glue they literally keep the organization together, but they're not necessarily the innovators. But there's a different term for it. There's glue and something else, but it's not innovators. But people who are who are, providing the vision, but also they can't be the glue at the same time, or else everything will fall apart. I found in government there's a lot more glue than it is people who are pushing, because the people who are pushing take the orders from essentially the politicians, right? Because that's kind of how it works. So I'm curious, because if it looks good, it sounds good, but when you're actually in the system, it becomes a little bit difficult, because I know for certain people, it's like, I can't do what I wanted. Like, I want to do this, but I'm stifled because we have to do it this way. And right. And that kind of stuff.
I think you have a good point there. And the only thing I'll add to that before hearing from Andy and Ann is that, would that be the right move? Let's just say I had the skill set for one of these jobs or whatever. And maybe it's remote. I mean, I couldn't personally move to DC right now for a job or anything, but regardless, at 47 coming up on 48, is it the right move? Would it be the right move for me? Probably not, unless I really saw it as a big jump. But here's what I would say. And here's where I get really excited. Maybe you're a kid that, maybe she's got a 2-year or 4-year degree from a community college, and some kid out there, she's built some amazing portfolio, and she's early 20s, can move around the country, isn't tied down anywhere, and you could go sit in on one of these 2-year contracts and make a move there. I could say, and by the way, the starting pay is 150 to 200. So unless you're coming out of plumbing school, you're probably not walking out the door capable of making a $150 to $200 range, depending. So there's probably quite a few people out there. I don't want to say it's all age based, but there's quite a few people out there who have the portfolios, who could walk into these jobs and probably get a great 2-year experience. That's a bit of a resume booster, but also probably a great experience as far as the government side. But again, it's probably highly dependent on where you are in your career and where you're trying to make moves, I would think. I don't know, Andy, and thoughts on that?
Yeah. I worked, for the federal government at In-Q-Tel, and it has some similarities. If I were going to consider taking a job with TechForce, I'd want to know a lot more than is available on the application. Like, who's leading it? What are the departments? What are the functions that are actually going to be, what's the problem set that TechForce has actually laid out? Because somebody has to have built a plan here if they're actually hiring to fulfill those things. I want to know that I'm joining an organization that's well organized and has a defined mission and isn't going to be subject to layoffs immediately,
right,
that are politically motivated. I'd be very wary about joining government employment at this point for the basic reason that the largest number of lost jobs in the United States market today is from the federal government. But on the other hand, if you're going to do something to do transformative sort of technology change inside government, the problem that you voiced, which is the inertia created by the large installed base of people who are resistant to change, that has been largely moved out of the way. So there is the opportunity possibly to do something, but I would want it to be really well organized. And I want to make sure that the application does not include a question about who won the 2020 election.
Well, so along those lines, I mean, I think somebody's gone out of their way to brand this program to attract a particular mindset. This is not a neutral, recruiting effort. This is very male coded. This is militaristic. This is, you've got very, competitive, rock star, ninja, dominant, driven. These are all male coded words. The person that they've got there, I don't have it up, but in the black outfit, do they look like they're sitting at a computer? Do they look like they're sitting in a little conference room talking with other people on a whiteboard? They look like they are one step away from it. I mean, maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but I'm just sharing from my point of view. would I ever suggest to my daughter and her friends, hey, here's a good gig. This looks like a place where you would feel really comfortable. And then you have the fact that they've chosen this militaristic, vibe, and who that will deter from applying is anybody who's ever been a victim of this type of, look at what's going on in our country. Who's going to apply for a job like that when let's say well, you guys, you can fill in the blanks, but I'm disappointed that somebody couldn't have either. I'm disappointed that those choices were made. It's a bummer. I would like to see the government, doing better when it comes to recruitment of a more diverse demographic into important roles like these. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I just don't see it as an attractive opportunity. To Andy's point, you start stacking. Okay, they're the people who've been most fired in the last X number of months or years. What's going on in general in our upper administration, and then you've got just the looks of the application itself. These things matter. So somebody made a choice to make it a deterrent for certain demographics to apply, and that bums me out. Again, that's my word of the day. Bummer. It's a bummer.
I mean, without me seeing all the individual applications, I suppose I don't see I guess I'm not picking up on the what you're seeing as male coded on there. I guess I don't see it the same way. And I've seen, by the way, I have no idea. If these jobs are good or bad for people. So let me just put that out there. I'm not advocating for this or advocating that, my daughter in 3 or 4 years go work there, whatever. I have known plenty of women in my family and extended family who have worked for the government and had, fulfilling careers. Is this the right path for my daughter or somebody else's daughter? I don't know, because I think there's 1,000 different jobs at 20 different companies, and some might be great, some might be awful. But to me, I guess circling back to, is this a potential path for somebody? Again, I think my point was, if you have a bit of a portfolio, if you've worked hard on that, if you have something to demonstrate and show in terms of your abilities, and you don't necessarily have a piece of paper that has the exact right words on it with the exact right, degree from the exact right college, that perhaps this is, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe once it gets to the application phase, that's not the case at all. I'm only going off of what I see on the website. So I don't want to come across as defending this by any means. I think it's interesting. We've certainly seen this before with varying rates of success. And so I think if I knew somebody that was like maybe the right age that could be flexible with where they live, I would certainly not deter them from looking at the site and jobs posted to see if there's something that speaks to them, because maybe they want to do it from a civic duty side of it too. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll give you, maybe the decision making is somehow or another appropriate. Top of the funnel. This does not, we're all in marketing. This does not say women and marginalized people, please apply for these jobs. It just doesn't. It's not, this is not, I mean, it's
literally, or are you saying literally it doesn't say that, or you don't say the subtext doesn't say that?
The whole design of it and the words that are used, that is not optimized for a diverse candidate pool. That is optimized for a very white, cisgendered, male, militaristic point of view. That is not collaboration.
That's not surprising.
No,
you would have expected that from this administration.
Well,
if you look at, Pete, if Pete Hegseth were the voice of this, So,
but it's a shame, because I agree, Brian. Like, opportunities like this, where we're all being grown-ups about, it doesn't matter where you got your degree from. It doesn't matter where you are in the international conglomerate of higher education, right? You could be doing your own thing in your basement and potentially be a fantastic candidate for this. And I would love to see that pipeline grow. Really. I just wish that this was presented as an opportunity for more people who aren't in that traditional pipeline to get in there, to get into it, to see it and go, you know what? This looks like it's for me. This was made for me. This is inviting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair point. All right. We are about on time, and given our the state of how our live looks on here, I think we'll wrap it up for today. And yes, there was people in there that said, "See what happens when Beth isn't here." Yes, Beth probably would have already had this done. By the way, I did yesterday's show and it was fine. I just was rushing today, and it's on me, and I didn't get it done. So it is what it is. I apologize for the view. We'll have it fixed for tomorrow, which is just to say we simply do not use the function. It just got defaulted in there, and that's what happened. So live and learn. Thanks for everybody for hanging out anyway. Regardless of whether you could see us perfectly, if I get way up high on the camera or not, to see everybody's smiling face. We'll be back tomorrow and all the rest of this week, as well as all the way through next week and through the holidays, as Andy and I mentioned yesterday. We appreciate y'all. Thank you for everybody in the comments. Thank you for caring. Thank you for leaving your comments and being part of the conversation, whether you agree or disagree. I mean, I think that's sort of the point here, is everybody can have great conversations about AI and where things are going, and we can touch on things about Tech Force without having to worry about, having that conversation, or people, not being able to be polite in the conversations too. So we appreciate y'all in the comments. Don't forget, you can sign up for the newsletter that goes out every Sunday. I think this Sunday will be the last one of the year. I think I'm going to take about 2 weeks off from that. So, make sure you sign up and see the last edition of the year, and it will get things kicked back off in January. And the Conundrum episodes that go out, you don't have to sign up for that. It goes out on Saturdays on our podcast platforms. They've been doing really well. I'll have to check and see how the one did about first contact with the aliens. That was last Saturday's. It's a good one, though. So go check that out as well. All right, that's it, guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out with us. Until next time.